Good evening and welcome to this live stream from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Austin Williams from Sports Talk with Austin, as we go over our take on the new college football playoff structure, where it is, as the title says, from controversy to clarity, understanding the new CFP structure. And let me tell you something, folks, it's going to be a
Mhm.
wild ride. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Jackson. Enjoyed a nice Memorial Day weekend and just working out here on the farm. And I'm looking forward to talking about this because I know this is going to be, like we said, like the title says, controversy to clarity. Hopefully, we strike some clarity on this, and hopefully, we understand it ourselves. I'm still trying to fully grasp the the, the modeling of it, but hopefully, we can and get some of it cleared out and figured out, and hopefully bring some clarity. And we might even take some of your calls as well on this topic. But remember, if you're going to call in, we have three simple rules that you must follow: no politics, be civil, and no degrading about the Great Pumpkin and religion. Like, don't get me wrong, I love religion, but keep it to college football and the sports realm only, please. That's all we ask. And just be civil with everybody. Everyone has different opinions, and that's what makes us great. But, Jackson, are you ready to talk about this new model?
I'm all set.
Okay, so the new model for 2025-2026 is it's still going to be a 12 team seeding model. The top 12 teams, regardless of conference, will be ranked and seeded 1, 2, 3, 12 by the selection committee. So no change there. Nothing new there. So the selection committee's still gonna be a part of it, which could be a good thing or bad thing. The top four teams will receive first round buys. Now this is where the difference comes in at. It was conference the top four highest conference champions got buys. Now it'll be the top four teams that get buys.
Hmm.
That means, Jackson, we could see the Big 12 and ACC champs no longer factored into the buys anymore. Whereas before they had a fighting chance. Now, not to say
Yeah.
the ACC can't have one of them years where they go undefeated or one loss and jump somebody, but this right here makes it very unlikely. Jackson, what do you think of this first rule change that the top four teams will get the bye instead of conference
Somebody
champions?
somebody's getting screwed over big time. I mean, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be seeing like like how we saw regardless of who won the Big Ten title or the SEC title, they were both getting in either way.
Yep.
I think you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna see one of those
Yep.
conferences have both of those teams get in the top four, regardless of the result in their conference title game. I think that's what you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna see happen, and again, somebody is getting screwed over in this.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, I want to bring up this too, is Notre Dame can now earn a bye. This is, I think, who it benefits the most, Jackson. If we're being completely honest, people were griping that Notre Dame needed to join a conference, right? Guess what?
Uh-huh.
Notre Dame, yeah, now won't have to join a conference. The pressure of joining a conference is not there anymore because Notre Dame can go undefeated and earn a bye now. What do you think about that
Yeah, I
wrinkle?
mean, like, that part I do like, that Notre Dame, all they have to do is have a really good record, they get a bye week, but the thing is
Mm-hmm.
about having a bye week is something to remember. Just because you have a bye week does not mean you have an
Mm-hmm.
automatic advantage. Just look at what happened to Oregon. They got
Yep.
smacked
Well,
around the road, and that was something I remember telling you, Austin, like, this time like, I remember last season, I was like, "Just because you got a bye does not mean you're automatically gonna win."
yep. And here's the thing too, Jackson. People automatically don't like the buys. You remember before they changed it, the buys, Jackson, were something people were complaining about to begin with.
Oh yeah.
And and, and Jackson, I can quote you in saying this is because I don't mind it, but you were against the buys to begin with.
Uh-huh.
So for you, you want to get you're more of a component of get rid of it all together and let's have straight seating without the buys, correct?
That's correct.
So for you, it's just proving your point valid. Of if you're a component of the buy, it's not looking good. Like me, I think a bye week's good. Gives them teams chances to get healthy and gives them 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent. And what this will do too, Jackson, is it'll help in the bracket of hopefully evening it out, where one team doesn't have the toughest road possible. And for people that were, which we'll get into it as we go down here, because there's a lot to unpack here. But if you're in Ohio State, you may no longer have to worry about playing a gauntlet of a playoff schedule, which I said from the beginning, and you did too, Jackson, off air and on air, if you want to be national champions, you play the best and you beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. And another key detail about the 2026 format is it's going to be a 12-team format. The playoffs will expand from the previous 18 to include 12 teams. Which, what do you think about that? Going from 8 to 12, Jack. Dislike it, like it?
I guess we'll wait and see.
I mean, I guess it gives more teams chances, but all it does, Jackson, is make it the SEC Big Ten Invitational even more. No offense to your Crimson Tide, good buddy,
Oh,
but
no worries.
that's
It's
basically
no worries, man. It's not me you'll have to say it to, that's for sure. It's like it's the
mm-hmm,
people in charge of the conferences and the people that run the
mm-hmm,
NCAA. Because
mm-hmm,
honestly, that's what I fear for the AC and the Big 12 and the group of 5 teams. They're the ones that are
mm-hmm,
really gonna get screwed by this.
mm-hmm. And the next headline, Jackson, is straight seeding. Teams will be seeded based solely on their final rankings by the selection committee, not on any automatic qualifier system. That changes everything totally now, Jackson, because the group of 5 team, let's say it's Boise or UNLV, they're almost making it, Jackson, where a group of 5 team will not be in this field. What do you think about that? That they're taking the Cinderella, the underdog, out of the field.
That kinda ruins it, like, taking the group of 5 team out of it.
Mm-hmm. Because Jackson, here's the thing too. Like, if UNLV goes undefeated, Jackson, and wins the Mountain West, that still may not be good enough to get in the field. So
Mhm.
it basically makes the group of 5 team have to schedule a tougher non-conference. So do you think in the future we'll be seeing group of 5 scheduling more Oregon's, Alabama's, Louisville's, Ole Miss's, Notre Dame's?
Oh, yeah. Because
You
like,
you think we will?
A lot of the Power 4 teams, they're just kinda like, we just wanna make our non-cons cream puffs."
Well, Jackson, and we got to remember, you got to be careful doing that. Does no one remember what Appalachian State did to A&M in Michigan? Has
Uh-huh.
anyone not learned? Or I hate to bring this up in front of you, Jackson. UNL Monroe against Alabama.
Yeah. '07. I mean, I always say, don't be afraid to bring up stuff that, like, that's hurt my team. Like, don't be worrying about that, man. It's like, "Don't worry, man. I'm all good."
But as far as the straight seating, though, Jackson, I mean, overall, what's your thoughts on it? Do you, because the thing is, I don't mind straight seating.
If you're gonna
Like,
if you're gonna go with something, stick with it. Don't just change something. Don't change the playoff season once a year or once every 2 years. Stick with it for at least a decade. That's what I say.
hmm I mean, here's the thing, Jackson. Straight seeding will clean out a lot of clutter, but this next point, the top 4 buys, the top 4 teams as ranked by the committee will receive first round buys. So basically, Jackson, if you're a top 4 seed, you get a bye, which we mentioned how this benefits Notre Dame now because they don't have to play in any conference if they don't want to. They could go 10-2 and get a bye if everything falls in place. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset at that. And Jackson, you're a big Notre Dame defender. What do you think about the people that are going to be coming out of the woodworks if Notre Dame goes 10-2, but the
Those
SEC or Big Ten champ gets left out of the bye, and they'll say, Notre Dame, why should you get it? You didn't play in a conference. We did. We had to
those
endure that.
people, honestly, and it's like when I had Trevor Trowbridge on from Irish Breakdown on the Jacksonian. We talked about it, and he was just kind of like, those people will complain about Notre Dame anyway. If they're not in a conference, they'll complain. If they're in a conference, it's going to be, well, why did you join that conference? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? They'll complain and complain and complain anyway. They'll just complain. That's just how it is. And it's like, if you see Notre Dame in a conference, what is there left to complain about? You got nothing to complain about. Okay, well, there's something else to complain. That's just how it is. Like, there's always gonna be somebody complaining about something. Hey, what's up, B Bean? How you doing tonight, good buddy?
What's up, B Bean? And Jackson, he's hitting it hot and heavy, quick with it.
Coming in
Independence
hot.
must
I
be
love
excluded.
it.
Yes, this is what this is here for because we kind of expected this when we brought this on ourselves. But he says independents must be excluded from bye weeks. Okay, what do you think about that, Jackson?
Or
'Cause
force
he's talking.
independent to play 13 game.
Mhm.
I'm okay with them playing a 13th game.
I mean, here's the thing: who could you get them to play? And like Notre Dame, UConn, UMass, those schools. Who could you get them to play? Play one another?
There's always a way around it. Because, I mean, B Bean says 13th game. He didn't say
Okay.
it had to be on conference championship week. It can be on any week of the year. So it's free
This is
real estate.
true. B Bean
Got
didn't
gotta
really
give out that
say.
gotta give out that free real estate move.
Yeah, he didn't say in his comment, to your point, Jackson, he didn't say when they had to play it. They could play a week 0 game or play during Army Navy week. And he says, good point. But to this straight seating, though, Jackson, another point to this is the Big 12 champion. What are the chances they'll earn a bye? In all likelihood, with this new system,
It all depends on their record. If they're unbeaten, then they probably get a bye. But
really, you think there's?
it all depends on the strength of schedule.
Okay, so like
And
the ACC. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
and it likely depends on the strength of victories as well.
Okay, because Jackson, obviously, the SEC and Big Ten are probably going to take up 2 of those buys. They're conference champions. Then the other 2 are up for grabs. The ACC could have a chance, but more likely it's going to be 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams, and maybe Notre Dame a year or 2. I could be wrong. I hope that a Big 12 or ACC champ is able to make a good enough schedule and get a good enough wins that they get a bye. But I just have a feeling it's not going to happen. And as far as straight seeding goes, how are they going to factor in rematches too, Jack? Because that's another thing that worries me about this straight seeding. We could see Alabama, Georgia 3 times in 1 year, and we could see Bama, Georgia in a first round game.
I'm okay with a rematch. I don't care. I mean, I always like those rematches because I mean,
But
I'm a
then it takes
sucker
away
for
from
revenge. I've always been a sucker for revenge games.
But doesn't that take away from the specialty though, Jackson?
Not
Like,
really. Not for me. I love a good
you don't
revenge
think
story.
so?
Nah, revenge stories are the best.
I mean, let me ask you this, Jackson. So you would be okay with playing Tennessee 3 times?
It's all right with me.
Because there's a possibility Tennessee in the regular season, you all could play them in the title game, and then could possibly play them in the first round if seeding falls that way.
I'm okay with that.
You would be okay with that?
I'm more than okay with that.
I'm the opposite. I want to avoid that because
You don't want to
at least
get
it tells.
even with revenge. Seems like if a team beats you, you don't want to. You want to wait for until the year is up. You want to be like, nah, man. It's like if Louisville loses to Kentucky, and then you see like Kentucky and Louisville playing each other in a quarterfinal match. Don't tell me you don't want that. You don't want to be like, yeah, we won Natty, but we're not the best in Kentucky. Like, I mean,
And D Bean says Jackson loved revenge games because Sabley usually won the rematch badly. I
it's
mean,
with
does
or
B Bean have a
without.
point?
With or without, so I bet you love the revenge games too, Big Bean, because I mean Florida benefited from that '96. So it's like there's that. Like they lost Florida State in regular season, but they got even with Florida State in the Natty. So there you go.
Here, here's the thing, Jack. I don't disagree, but I just don't want to see it that quick. Is
I
kind of the point I'm making. I
oh,
don't want to see rematches that quick. If Louisville, Kentucky were to play for the national championship, I would be all down for that
I was
because we
talking
would have
about in
had.
a quarter. I was talking about in a quarterfinal matchup. Like if that were to happen,
That's too early, Jack. Like I'm thinking more of a
early
national champ.
Smurley, early Smurley. A
See, this
revenge
is where
like
we have difference
revenge
of
games
opinion.
are the best kind of games.
Like this is where we have difference of opinions and what makes us so different. You want the revenge game as soon as possible. I want to see it at the end after you both have went through the playoff bracket. Or I would like to see it at the end because that's the ultimate crown. Because it's 2-for-1. If the series is 1-1, like let me ask you something, Jackson. Alabama Auburn, they're
Yeah.
tied 1-1. You all won the first one, they won the SEC because they beat you. And then you all played for the whole thing. Not only do you win bragging rights, but you win the whole thing. Tell me that's not sweeter.
I love getting the natty, but it's like if you don't get revenge against Auburn, that kind of sucks. Like that still kind of sucks still. I mean, you hear like the Buckeyes where it's like, yeah, you won the natty, but you didn't beat Michigan. You lost them for a fourth straight year. Which
Like, here's the thing, Jackson. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt. Like, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I'm not
fun.
saying it doesn't hurt you to your core, but if you win a national championship, you are the best. There is no more disputing that. You have the prize. You are the top of the mountain in your sport. Whether you beat or want to beat your rival, because you can use it throughout NFL history. The year that and B Bean says Ohio State, Michigan are probably the first teams to play 3 times in the same. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think that's happening. Not for like the next couple years anyway. Not this year.
I mean, let me ask you, Jackson. Out of this scenario, who do you think will be the first ones to play 3 times that are rivals?
That's a good point. Because I mean,
I'm
I
trying to think. Ohio, Tennessee, Bama has a good shot of doing that, possibly.
it could
Ooh,
happen. Like Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, if Texas, Oklahoma were both in '08 form, that could totally happen. Um,
Bama, LSU.
we see too much Bama LSU.
I mean, What about Oregon, Washington?
Give
I
it a few
mean,
years with Washington.
Penn State really doesn't have a rival within their conference that they would play 3 times.
No. I mean, like,
I'm trying to.
Pitt's a rival, but I mean, you all have heard my feelings on Penn State, Pittsburgh, so I'm not doing that tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah. We don't want to get Jackson going down that rabbit hole. We'll be here all night.
But yeah,
But but that's an interesting question, Bean. I mean, there's multiple rivalries we could consider within the conference. I mean, like Bama, Tennessee, Bama, LSU. We could see Georgia, Bama. I mean, the Big
oh
12.
yeah,
We could.
Georgia Bama is the most likely for now.
Yeah.
Um, if Florida can have a really good season this year, I mean, I could see Florida Georgia happening, but I don't
Three
see it
times.
happening this year though in the AC title. That would be nice to see,
But
like Florida Georgia in the AC title, where like say Florida loses in the regular season, but then gets revenge, or Georgia loses in the AC title, like or Georgia loses regular season, then gets revenge AC title. Like I love revenge games. I'm just a sucker for them, and always will be. What's up, Trojan Fight? How you
but
doing tonight, good buddy?
what's up, Trojan? What's up? But to the straight seeding, though, it's very simple, basic forward. The top 12 teams will be seeded. So basically, rules out the little guy, the UNLVs, the Boise's, the Army, the Navies, the Tulanes. It's basically going to trim off the fat. We're no longer going to have the underdogs.
True.
And then the top 4 buys, as I said, the top 4 teams is ranked by the committee will receive a buy. So, like we mentioned before, it could be it's going to be the 4 best teams. So it'll probably be a variation of Ohio State, Alabama's, LSU's, and Notre Dame some years. And like Jackson mentioned, the Big 12, if they happen to have a really good year, maybe the ACC. And then the first round, the remaining 8 teams, 5 through 12, will play in first round with higher seeds hosting the lower seeds on their home fields, which is the same thing as last year. In the quarterfinals, the winners of the first rounds, along with the top 4, will participate in the quarterfinals, and the semifinals and championship. The winners of the quarterfinals will move on to the semifinals, and ultimately, the granddaddy of them all for the whole thing. So, Jackson, looking at this, is there is there is there anything that kind of pops off the chart to you as a red flag? Like, is there something you're like, maybe they
I
shouldn't have
see where
changed that?
Trojan Fight's going with how he's not too crazy about the committee getting to decide who gets buys. And Big
Yeah,
Bean asked us if we're in favor of changes or do we think Boise deserved a buy. Well, I mean, Boise did deserve a buy, but on the other hand, it's like you did lose to Penn State. So I mean, two things can be
here's the
true at
thing.
once.
But as far as are we in favor, I'll say this. I I wish you know it Boise. The fact I'm kind of like, and I know I may be a sucker for the smaller markets, but I kind of like this past year's format better than this one. And that may be controversial on my part, but I like the fact that Boise or UNLV could be in the field. Not that they're going to win it every year, but at least they're given a chance. What do you think,
Yeah.
Jack? Which one are you in favor for? This one or this past year's?
I kind of like 2024's, honestly, but I just don't like the whole changing up everything right away once a year. I feel like
Yeah.
if you're going to stick with something, stick with it for at least a decade. Then come back and talk to us within
Yeah.
a decade.
Here's the thing, Jackson. What do you think started this controversy of them making this change? Let's dig into that a little bit. What do you think started it? Was it Alabama getting left out? Do you think
Oh
your
yeah.
team getting left out is what? Do you think that's what started all this? Why people are like such in a, oh, we got to change it. This isn't right. What do you think it was? You think that was it?
Oh, I think that was part of it.
What do you think the other part was?
SEC and Big Ten want a bigger piece of the pie.
So you're thinking too, Jack, that that is a big part of it. You're thinking Greg Sankey and company want to be hogs with it.
Oh yeah.
They don't care about the little man. They're just like, screw you guys. We're gonna do what's best for us.
Well, and honestly, I think the SEC's thinking they're not going to get screwed over like the ACC and Pac-12 were. But hate to break it to you, you're going to get screwed just like those two were. I mean, the alliance is going to last forever. Yeah, it didn't even last a full year.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how that worked out for the Pac-12. Big Ten just snatched everybody from there because they're like, oh, we got to catch up with the SEC. I mean, because it was like, I thought to myself at that time, I was like, why didn't they get Iowa State and Kansas? They geographically belong. Oh, right. Iowa State and Kansas don't move the needle on the TV market like USC does. UCLA moves the needle because of the
Mm-hmm.
LA market. And then they're going to then the Big Ten's like, okay, we'll do one better. We're going to add Oregon and Washington to this conference as well. We got to get a stranglehold on the West Coast because that's something the SEC doesn't have. The SEC doesn't have a stranglehold on the West Coast, but we do. And the Pac 12 is going straight to hell, and we're taking advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing too. I'll say this too, Jackson, and to B Bean's point, it was also Oregon's tough bracket. I think that was a part of it too. The fact that the number one team got knocked out, I think they saw that and was like, oh no, we can't be having that every year. Oh no, 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 that's bad for ratings. I think that's a big part of it too, if I'm being completely honest. I agree with you, Bean, because if you think about it, Jack, if like the number one team going out, even though it was to Ohio State, then that creates a lot of, in my opinion, I think it makes for a fascinating rest of the way because the best team by the consensus is no longer there. It's up for grabs again. But if you're a media rights or a commissioner, you're looking at it as this is bad for ratings. We can't have this. This is a no-no. This is bad. Oregon's gone. Like the bracket's tarnished. So I could see that. What about you, Jack?
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that. I didn't say that the SEC wanted in on the West Coast. I was making a point that the Big Ten wanted to, beat everyone, just kind of like stand out, so to speak. The SEC is at least geographically with one another. Well, it may not be the Southeastern Conference technically. I mean, it is the SEC, but it's not everybody in the Southeast. It's basically everyone in the South except for Missouri, but Missouri borders Arkansas, parts of Kentucky, and parts of Tennessee. So
Yep.
that is what you see. And like everybody borders one another in the SEC, whereas you don't see that with the ACC. You don't see that with the Big Ten, and you don't see that with the Big 12 either. And I think if you do see expansion again, the SEC is going to border one another again, regardless of who they add. You're going to see like 17, 18, 19, and 20 border one another. What is up, Hummus here? How you doing tonight, good buddy?
What's up, Hummus? And Hummus also says the SEC is 100%. I do.
Contagious.
Let me say,
Not
Congress is that
not contagious, continuous. My bad.
is 100% continuous. Thank you. I almost said I did say Congress. It's continuous. I mean, that's a good point too, Hummus. I don't disagree. Agree with that. I think this is all being, whether any of us like to admit it or not, I think this change was forced by the SEC more than anybody. And and I know people will say the Big Ten is in on it too. Honestly, I think the SEC had their biggest paw print in it more than anything because the Big Ten won the whole thing this year, and you didn't hear a peep out of them, at least not out in the public. It was more of the SEC. And I know my good friend up here, Jackson, he's not going to like to hear this, but we heard the biggest uproar from Alabama was left out. Why in the hell was Alabama left out? This isn't right. What is wrong with you people?
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess what, Alabama? If you hadn't lost to Oklahoma and lost to Vandy, we wouldn't be having this now, would we?
No.
And that's why I said I don't think the Big Ten really, from what we've seen out in public, now behind closed doors, they could be doing a whisper campaign, being like, yeah, Mr. Sankey, do it, help us out. But out in public, they seemed fine with it, especially since Ohio State won. And Trojan Fight says, I'm all
for. Oh, you're talking about the guy that was flipping from Oregon. I saw that from On 3 today. I saw that.
Mm-hmm. But I just think the SEC had a big hand in it. Like, in Jackson, like I said, it's no shot across the bow at you, good buddy. But it's all because people can't stand that Alabama was left out. Because Bama played bad football at the worst time of the year, and it cost them. They did it to themselves. But we can't be leaving Alabama out because they are a money-making brand.
Oh, yeah. I see who you're talking about, Trojan Fight. You're talking about Richard Wesley, who flipped from Oregon to BYU. Not Richard Wesley. Richard Wesley's not committed. He committed 17 days ago, but he's visiting other teams. You're talking about the offensive lineman that clipped that flipped to BYU. Thanks, Charger Fight. I appreciate it. Kale Nuvalu. I have got to learn how to pronounce these names correctly. Like, seriously. Good grief. That is on me, guys. I gotta do better with the name pronunciation. Yes, that's the name. Thank you, Trojan Fight.
Yes.
We appreciate the endorsement, Darrell. We agree. Click the like button, click comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another video from either one of our channels.
Yes.
And we got
they're also call-in link if you all want to come talk about it too, because I'm sure you've heard enough of us ramble about it, but we want to hear your opinion too. That's another reason why we wanted to do this show tonight, is to hear your all's take on it, get differing opinions, because we all differ. Like, that's what makes this great. We all have our different opinions on it, but I'll say this, Jackson. I mean, as far as this goes, the more I read it, is the more it sounds like the SEC, Big Ten are trying their best to make a playoff to themselves. Is the way this sounds. And I know. Go ahead, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC Big Ten Invitational, I don't like that one bit. I want to see an ACC team win it all or a Big 12 team win it all. Like, that is something I want to see. because it would be great for all college football. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'll see Bama win a few more natties in my lifetime. I just want to see an ACC team or a Big 12 team win it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing, Jackson. I would love for the ACC to win it all, but the problem is our best chance is maybe Clemson. That's like, don't get me wrong, I love Louisville, I always will. But at best, I think we can win the ACC, maybe win a playoff game.
Yes.
I don't think we're ever gonna ever win it all. And I think our best year to win it all was the year we had Lamar and Teddy Bridgewater. In my honest opinion, I think we could have won it all those 2 years. But time has passed us on that. And Hummus says the Big Ten was, there's that big word again. Speak it out there for me, Jack. Help me out.
Contagious. Before the West
Contagious.
Coast additions. Now they would need to add like Colorado, Utah, Nevada School, North Dakota, Montana, Boise State, even less. Like, look, if they're gonna go to the mountains, I wanted to add BYU and Utah. This way, it's like, hey, we care about rivalry week. I wish the Big Ten would trade Rutgers to the ACC for Pittsburgh, but I know that's not gonna happen. And B Bean says, good luck with that dream about the AC team or Big 12 team winning all. Thanks, man. I mean, that's why I say it's a dream. That's why I'm just like, that's why I say I wish. Because when I say I wish, that means I want something to happen, but I know that's not going to happen. And
Clint Moses says, I want SMU to win it all before any Big 12. I do have to ask, Clint, what do you have against the Big 12? Did they steal your girlfriend from you or something? I'd like to know, because you're
well, they don't have Oregon State. They didn't add Oregon State.
Well, that's not their fault. Why are they getting punished for it? Anywho, and Trojan Fight says, honestly, I thought Alabama getting left out was a direct result of the prior year when they got in and FSU got left out. All the public outrage that came from that. Trojan Fight, that right there is a great comment. Jackson, do you think that's a possibility?
I think that's really a lot of it, but giving in to public outrage does not always end well. Because if you're giving in to outrage a lot, then you're going to be expected to do it all the time. You have to do what's right, even if most people don't agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and Hummus says the only Big 12 school with a checkbook out to win a natty is Texas Tech. I mean, do they care about football enough to do that, Hummus? They seem like they're more interested in their basketball than their football. And Trojan Fight says Texas Tech is one of those that's all in on this year. I doubt they continue spending this much year to year. I agree. B Bean says it is tough to hearing you two butcher the word.
Contiguous.
And we're going to butcher it again. Contiguous, LOL.
Well, I'm sorry, third time was a charm tonight, so.
Yes. And Hummus said Beef Things think the Big 12 should have offered them an invite, I think. But to this point, though, this is a great point. And I want to elaborate on this. I think sometimes when you make a mistake, you try to clean up the mess. And what I mean by that is last year they realized they made a mess. So this year they cleaned it up by saying, okay, Alabama, we're not going to do this again. Because they're already suspicious that we're rigged. So let me clean up this mess. You're going to have to get punished. Even though you beat Georgia, who won the SEC, we're still going to have to punish you a little bit to make it seem like we're being fair and unbiased.
That's what I think too. Like 2024, I think if like SMU had lost by that whipping that Clemson was giving out in the first half and Clemson was continuing to whip them, I think Alabama would have got in. When SMU was
Mm-hmm.
making that comeback in the second half, and you heard like Sean McDonough saying, I think SMU's done enough to get in. Like, especially when they tied the game. That told a lot of us right there. SMU is in not because the guys at ESPN liked them, but because they knew that there'd be public outrage of Alabama getting in once again. So they kind of want to avoid the fire and the torches and the pitchforks by saying, hey, I think SMU should get in. But on the bright side, when we saw Clemson winning with a game-winning field goal, we heard Sean McDonough getting excited, going, good at the buzzer. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
I
mean,
mean,
here's the thing too, Jack.
if you're gonna have a bad moment, it might as well be Sean McDonough throwing out his voice to make it a little better.
I mean, be honest with you though, Jack. I mean, here's the thing. Overall, though, Jackson, I really and truly think, and this is just my honest to God opinion, I feel like Alabama is going to benefit from getting left out this upcoming year because they got a taste of their own medicine and they realized, okay, we're not invincible anymore. And maybe that motivates them to play better in crucial situations. Like this year,
Agreed.
Jackson, if y'all beat Georgia, you might take Vanderbilt more seriously.
Oh yeah. But I mean, even if we lose
Instead
to
of last year.
Georgia, even if we lose to Georgia, like we'll be okay because like we're thinking about Vanderbilt as well. That's what I was thinking too, Hummus. It's like nobody freaking cared about what BYU was doing. Like they weren't sitting there thinking about BYU SMU from week 2. I mean, to me, that was the most underrated game in all of college football throughout 2024. Kind of like how Missouri Kansas State was the most underrated for 2023. Kind of like how Tulane Kansas State was the most underrated game for 2022. BYU SMU was the most underrated game that people don't remember throughout the 2024 season because it's like they're either thinking about Kansas football from week 2 or they're thinking about Jordan Love getting hurt in Brazil against the Philadelphia Eagles on the Peacock app.
And Jackson, before we get to our splendid caller, I will elaborate, Jackson. A lot of times, as our good buddy Jeffrey, if he was here right now, he would be shouting this from the moon. But teams get better or get worse from that time, and sometimes the committee don't take into account because at the beginning of the year, Jackson, SMU and BYU were conceived as 8-win teams at best, and I think that's fair to say. And I think as the year went on, I think they realized, oh crap, these two teams could legit win their conferences and be in the playoffs. So I think that played a lot of it, in my opinion. But we have a caller, Jackson, who I'm sure is going to give us plenty of insight on this, and we look forward to it because this caller here is a legendary caller at the Voice of College Football, a legendary Kansas City Chiefs fan, always insightful, always bringing the knowledge and putting it down when he calls in. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present you the one, the only, the greatest of all time in terms of calling, the real MVP. Welcome in, Daryl. How are you?
Well, thanks. I'm doing good. Thanks, Austin, for the introduction. I appreciate it as always. It's good hearing from you. So, there's a lot happening this week when it comes to college football. That's really shuffling the deck, and we kind of know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this 12-team seeding model to me is unequivocally better than the AQ models because it reduces my key concern for the casual fans, which is the complexity aspect. Like, okay, so Boise State, they were ranked number 9 or 13 or wherever they were, but they're number 3. No, they were ranked number 9, so therefore they're ranked number 3 because these other teams were in this conference and we need teams from this conference. Well, it's just too much confusion. What I do like, though, and something I heard that you did get wrong, Austin, it's fine because all this is still a little too complex. 5 conferences are going to be represented in the college football playoff. It's just the seeding has changed. So there will still be a G5 team every single year in this playoff because there's only 4 conferences since the Pac-12 decided to go the way of the dodo bird.
The dodo bird.
That's funny.
So the G5 team will still have a spot. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I mean,
they will
not that
just,
they'll
instead
win,
of being 4 or 5, they'll be 12 or 11, most likely. They would be
good,
9,
good.
for example, last year. And they would have to play a road game against Indiana in a 9-8 matchup. And that's a game, honestly, Boise State probably could have won.
Yeah. Like, in all seriousness, and this is not to get anything started or make any jokes, but Boise, Indiana might have been the best first round game played on the field that we could see.
Oh, yeah, in terms of competitiveness, I completely agree with you. And I think this also does allow some incentive for winning your conference, and that's the factor in. I know a lot of people haven't explained it because, the SEC and Big Ten are just so superior, it's already assumed we're going to at least get one. But, you never know what could happen going forward. Maybe the SEC and Big Ten decide, for whatever reason, to completely implode on themselves, and they only get one team in. So I like that there is still some incentive for winning your conference going forward. I completely agree with B-Bean. I think that was him talking about Notre Dame, or maybe it was Trojan Fight. I don't remember which one of the two, but Notre Dame just needs to join a conference, or they just need to legislate Notre Dame out of this. I'm sorry, but the fact is, and this is going to happen, I feel like, and Uncle Lou brought this up, and it's a good point. What if Notre Dame is the 5th-ranked team in the country? You have 1 playing 4, 2 playing 3. Somebody has to lose. And then Notre Dame slots up to number 3. That doesn't feel very fair because they didn't challenge themselves. So what I saw from Joe Gladden, I think this is a good idea, is Notre Dame should have to play the highest ranked team that's not playing in conference championship Sunday. That should be their extra 13th game.
Works for me. I mean, I want to see like Notre Dame play either the 3rd best team in the SEC or 3rd best team in the Big Ten. Like, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, if it was based on the 16-team model, the 4-4-2-2-1-3, it would have been Ole Miss going to South Bend, Indiana. And listen, that would have been an excellent game.
Oh, Notre Dame would have made life a living hell for Ole Miss.
I think that line would be within. I think it would be like 3, maybe 2.5 for Notre Dame. I don't think that would have been a massive Notre Dame's going to win by 21 points. I just, I think Ole Miss is a decent football team. I mean, they did finish top, 12 at the end of the season because they beat Duke. They're a good team. They got legit players. So,
well, they did beat the Georgia Bulldogs. You got it there, but the problem is they had their Jekyll and Hyde moments, particularly against Kentucky, where they lost that one. That was the only conference win for Kentucky, right? And later they lost to LSU and Baton Rouge. And most importantly, their playoff hopes were all gone the moment they lost to Florida and Gainesville. And they blew it not once, but twice in the final minute of the game.
Yeah, I know. I know. But if they do beat Notre Dame, they would have wins over Georgia and Notre Dame, and they would improve their bubble case. It's a reward for being the best of the rest. And I like it because it adds more weight to the end of the regular season. And you know what? I like these debates being settled out on the football field. That's my opinion. And it may be unfair to Notre Dame, but you know what? That's your fault. You choose not to be in a conference. You actively choose not to play in a conference, so you have to play somebody.
Well, Notre Dame playing Ole Miss would be a perfect opportunity for revenge of 1977, where Notre Dame lost to Ole Miss that year. So that would be a great game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. I think it'd be a great game, and you'd see unique matchups too, because it would probably be somebody different every year for Notre Dame to play, and it'd be a mid to high caliber team. I just think it was an interesting idea. I'm going to push for it in the future because I like good ideas like this. What I don't like about this format is it's only sticking around for 1 year. That's the biggest downside. And that's a flaw not with the format, that's just a flaw with college football in general that's impacting this format. Is if you're a casual fan, you learned a brand new format last year, which most college football fans, I still believe to this day, can recite it perfectly for you. Then you've got this new format, and next year you're going to have a completely different format. I think it's just too much change too quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what I worry about too. It's like I don't really like the idea of being too much change with it, which is way too quick. I don't really like that one bit.
And here's the thing too. I want to say this, Dario. Like you said, I'm with Jackson. They need to stick with one and stick with it, whichever one it is, whether it's the first one or this upcoming one. If this one works and people enjoy it and people love it, then stick with it. But make sure you stick with it and don't change. I don't understand why the change after 1 year. Is it because people were upset that everyone with buys lost? That's what I'm trying to figure out in this process. We all knew, I think we all knew they were going to change it. Like Jackson, you even said it on a couple different shows. You thought they were going to change it.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't think it was going to be this soon. I just want to know in their head, what were they like? What was the moment they're like, we got to change this? Like, I just want to know that.
Oh, to me, just speculating, the moment is when they see the 3 seed as the Boise State Broncos. And then you look at their schedule. I know Boise State in week 1 played Oregon to 3 points. That game has been talked about. That is the best loss, I think, in the history of college football, based on the way people talk about it. People don't talk about the fact they almost lost to Wyoming at home. I think it was at home, who was 2-10. I'm sorry, Wyoming is a garbage football team. Every FBS team except for Purdue and Florida State would have beaten Wyoming that year. They had another struggle against North Texas. If Boise State just obliterated their competition, I'm talking like 35-0, 42-7 victories, that type of thing, I don't think anybody would have a real problem with Boise State being that highly seeded, or not as much as a problem. But when you're struggling against scrubs, and you make it as a comfortable team with a bye, compare that to Arizona State, who's having to fight and claw their way, and we know they're just playing much better competition. I think that's where the outrage comes from.
Well, and I think too, the reason why like Boise State got that first round bye is that the committee considered Boise State, Oregon from week 2 on the Peacock app. Well, I should know because I remember watching it on my iPad right here in this very office. I'm watching Voice of College Football, and I'm watching the Boise State, Oregon game on my iPad. And I remember the thing was that Oregon was in 2 close games. They're not going to win against Ohio State. They're not doing all right in the Big Ten. They're pitiful, right? It took a game-winning field goal beat Boise State. But what happened was everybody was winning afterwards. Both those teams were winning. We saw Boise State going on a winning streak. And, they went on to win the Mountain West. We saw the Oregon Ducks getting everybody ready for the rest of the season. Had a great game against the Ohio State Buckeyes in the regular season. Them winning out. Them winning the Big Ten in their first year going to the Big Ten. And I think that really helped Boise State. That one game against Oregon, that really helped Boise State. But you are right,
Mhm.
Darrell. They did play close against a scrub, which was Wyoming for 2024.
And the thing I'll say to it as well is here's my thing. It's all about your body of work too. Because if we put all three resumes together, me, you, and Darrell, and I say, oh, I played Florida, but I lost. And Jackson, you say, oh, I played Alabama and I lost. And Darrell could say, oh, I played Kentucky and I lost. If we were Boise. And then we don't get better after that. The committee's going to be looking at us like, okay. And I understand. I think a lot of it had to do as well with the fact Ashton Genty was in Heisman conversations too, and they did not want the Heisman race to look bad because it was a close race. The final numbers even said that Genty was this close to winning it, that close.
Mm-hmm.
And for him not to make the playoffs, at least to say they had one of their finalists besides the big name brand, I think would have been a bit of a smidge on the Heisman and the integrity and all that good stuff. But I agree with you, though, Darrell. You can't just hang your hat on, oh, we lost to Oregon.
Yeah, I'm glad you all came to an agreement there. So, I think also something that's coming out of SEC Media Day or meetings, the spring meetings, because they're talking a lot about the structure of the game formatting, is I saw Kirby Smart talk about how nobody's outraged that 13 of the 16 SEC teams made it comfortably in the college baseball field. But yeah, people are outraged that, that they're outraged that Alabama isn't in. They being the SEC, Alabama at Ole Miss and South Carolina isn't in. Would you all like more objective criteria? Because college baseball and other sports use like RPI, quad systems, and stuff like that. To me, the issue is we are too generic in our talking points. It's like, well, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, and those two teams are trash, so Alabama's out. It doesn't really get into the fundamentals of looking at the whole resume. Like, we don't look at strength of schedule. We don't look at strength of record. We don't look at where the games are played. I don't think we weight that enough properly. So,
We should.
intent to schedule, I don't think intent to schedule is weighed nearly as hard. I'm sorry. If you're Indiana, and I'm just going to pick on them because they chose to do this. If you're Indiana, I look at those 3 non-conference games, I'm tossing you out. I don't care.
Yeah.
Basically, they went 8-1. Those 3 games, everybody except Purdue and Florida State would probably win. So why should we count those as win? They're wins, but they're not wins. If that makes sense, you didn't prove anything by beating them.
Kind of like if you tell someone you like them, but you don't like them. Am I correct in that analogy?
Yeah.
And the thing too, quick, Darrell, is I want to challenge that take. If we're going to pick on Indiana about that, we need to do it for every other school too. We can't just pick on Indiana because we need to do it for Alabama and Georgia when they play their cupcakes. What did they prove by doing that?
Well, I mean, Georgia did go out and beat, what was it, Clemson? I think they played Clemson and beat them, and Alabama did go out on the road and play a Power 4 conference team in Wisconsin. So they did prove they're capable. That is basically a 9th conference game if you want to look at it. Meanwhile, Indiana has played literally nobody. I mean, their best non-conference game was Kennesaw State. Anybody know where Kennesaw State is at? You go to your random college football fan, say, what state is Kennesaw State is? Actually, you say, you know what? Have you heard of this new country called Kennesaw? They'll probably say, yeah, I saw that on the news Tuesday.
Oh, my God.
You know what, Darrell? Now that you put that in perspective, that kind of just deflates my entire argument. Go ahead.
So I think those are some factors we need to look at going forward. And it would be more objective because everyone would know beforehand, these are the certain things we could do. Like, and I think you should look at, okay, if you play a top 10 team on the road, that counts as quad 1. If you play a top 20 team neutral site, that's also quad 1 because it's hard to win neutral versus home. And then top 25 on the road because it's harder to win on the road versus home. And it's even harder on a road compared to neutral site. So I think it's also giving incentive to play in road games.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is happening here is everybody's just looking at who'd you beat and who'd you lose to. I think people are just too simplistic in their vision.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
you think they should take an approach like college basketball, whereas Houston, San Diego State, how they can that was one of the key points they made this past year to bring it around into your point, Daryl, is San Diego State beat Houston, I believe it was in Vegas this past year in college basketball, but that was one of the big reasons the selection committee put them in the first four because of that win, and that was at neutral site. They took that into factor, though. They didn't bolster them up in the bracket. They did take into fact it was neutral site. You're saying something like that for college football, like LSU, USC. USC beats LSU. They should factor into LSU. Oh, you lost at a neutral site. Kind of like that. Kind of like what college basketball does.
Yeah.
Correct?
I know for college basketball, when they make the bracket, they have a sheet of paper. And it's green with the letter H for home games, white with the letter N for neutral site, and orange with the letter R for road. And they should do that and have it broken up into quadrants. You can go to Warren Nolan, and he's actually got something pretty similar, both in terms of every sport. And it just shows you, oh, these are the teams. So you show it. I think Alabama, if you use the quad system that he's formulated, went 4-1 in quad 1 games before the Michigan game. I'm going to emphasize that because the Michigan game doesn't count as a data point because the game occurred after the playoff selection. We don't have the time stone, so we can't go into the future and know the outcome of these games. Whereas Indiana, I think, went 0-1 in quad 1 games, and you just would. I think seeing that disparity on paper would make it so much more easier for people to understand the depth of the schedule that an Alabama played, because nobody talked about how they played the number. They just beat. What did they do? I mean, they just beat the number 2 team in the country. I mean, don't get me wrong, Austin. I feel like that should be somewhat of a factor when having these debates. Who did you beat? Well, you beat the number 2 team, the 15 team, and the 19 team. In Indiana, they beat Michigan, Nebraska, Washington. I wonder if those 6 teams played each other in a round-robin tournament, which side would win. I wonder, we can never figure it out, but I got a good feeling about this.
Now, Daryl, I'm going to tell you what, if Jeffrey was here, our Indiana fan would tell you. They put up 66 points against Purdue. They put on a show, and that solidified that they belong.
Oh my gosh, they beat Purdue. Oh my gosh, they beat Purdue.
I know. I'm with you, Daryl. I'm just saying that's what they would tell you.
They dominated Nebraska. Holy cow. They beat Nebraska by 50 points. I'm not trolling when I say, who cares? Who cares? I don't care at all.
If you're an Indiana fan, you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice consolation prize, but you had your chance to make the playoffs when you played Ohio State. All you had to do was be competitive. And they turned out they were not competitive. I mean, who could have seen a complete blowout in the playoffs except for, every single person that watched any Indiana football the entire year. I mean, that game was 28-3 with like 3 minutes, I think 4:50 left to go in the game. And then Notre Dame tries to Notre Dame and giving up not 1, but 2 onside kicks. I still don't know how you give up 2 onside kicks in a game, but it should have been 28-3. That's...
Yeah,
that would have, I think, took the narrative that Indiana didn't belong, but they had to give up, what would that be? 17? No, not 15 points for free. They had to give up 2+ touchdowns. Insane.
And that's the thing too, Daryl. And I'll say this. I'm just bringing that up because that's what they would tell you. I'm not saying I agree with them whatsoever. You're right. If they beat Ohio State or at least look competitive, then they've got a case. But I agree with you. And I've always said, people were always thinking it's SMU or Alabama And I said from the beginning when they were deliberating, I said it's Alabama, Indiana should be the conversation, not Alabama, SMU. But people refuse to look at it like that. And Jackson, you could speak to this as much as anybody. Jackson, who was the biggest competition for a playoff spot? Everyone always said SMU. It's SMU and Bama. Everyone said Indiana safely in.
Oh,
But I've always said it's Indiana, Alabama. Those are the two. SMU safely in.
oh yeah. Well, I think it was basically SMU and Bama, basically because when you saw SMU making that comeback against Clemson, they were in the playoffs because of it. But if SMU had gotten whipped in the second half like they were in the first half, I think you'd see Bama in.
I mean, let me ask you, Daryl, as a non-biased SEC person, if you compared all three resumes, Bama, SMU, Indiana, who was Bama's biggest? Who would be more likely to get in? Like, who is it? Indiana or SMU? Who's their competition?
Well, to me, SMU belongs in over Indiana because of the high quality wins. But before that,
Okay.
I honestly think there should be a bigger discussion of BYU making the field because they had the same record as SMU and they beat them head to head. And I believe that game was played at SMU. I don't know why that game just doesn't count at all. It just was in the ether. It just doesn't exist, apparently. It's like the conference championship games. It's just a figment of people's imaginations because that's what Warren Manuel said. But I would have SMU over Indiana because SMU did go out and win their conference. No, they didn't win, but they played competitive against Clemson. Clemson's a decent team, much better than anything Indiana beat it all year. They did beat Louisville. Louisville's a good team. They beat them on the road, too. Louisville's significantly better than any team. Well, they're about Michigan's level, so it's pretty comparable. But, one's at home, one's on the road.
BYU.
So. Huh?
And they lost to BYU.
Yeah, but that was a competitive game as well. When you play, I value how the game is fought and how the game is played as well. Like, if you play a much better team and you barely lose to them, I consider that much and more highly liked than beating 60 to a 6-6 Nebraska team, for example. It's just something that doesn't matter. Like, to me, that's much more impressive than beating Purdue by 60,000 billion points. So I would give SMU the slight favorite over Indiana, but the committee decided, well, Indiana's 11-1 and SMU's 10-2. The only time that the committee has ever chosen a team with a worse record was when Florida State got stubbed because their quarterback got hurt. That's literally the only time they haven't gone by record. So until the committee can show that they're willing to change it by record, then it's we're not gonna make any meaningful changes in terms of getting equitable schedules.
And what I want to ask you too, Daryl, since you're here, is Trojan Pipe made this comment earlier. I want to get your thoughts on it. Do you agree with this? Because me and Jackson kind of came to the consensus of maybe that's the direct cause of it. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that played a factor at all because, Alabama did shockingly get in over Florida State. But I don't personally think there was any backroom deals, but I can't argue against it. I can easily see how people came into that conclusion. I think the outrage was a little overhyped. I think everybody knew that Florida State wasn't going to be competitive against Michigan if they got in. I mean, it stinks for Florida State. They couldn't do anything about it, especially because it happened in Northern Alabama of all teams, just in a relevant garbage can. But it happens, man, and it's part of sports. And they've left team. I was telling Mark earlier, I said, they left West Virginia out of college basketball March Madness this year because Tucker DeVries got hurt in like his 8th game of the season. And they played like 32 games. So this isn't just a college football thing that happens. This happens in other sports as well. If you lose your best player, that should have some sort of an impact on, you're a different team, and they barely beat a okay Florida team, and sure, they beat Louisville, but Louisville was pretty I don't want to say fraudulent, but they were a very weak 10-2 team.
And I'll say this too. And Jackson, if he's still here, he could tell you, Daryl.
Oh, I'm here.
He knew. So Jackson, you could speak to this as well, and you have said this in the past. But he knew Florida State was getting left out the moment that he heard the commentators on the announce when the halftime score was 6-3, and they were like, Florida State just has to win. And then all of a sudden, go ahead, Jackson, take it the rest of the way. When they said,
yeah, I mean, they basically insinuated that Florida State had to do what Ohio State did in the 2014 Big Ten title game. So, like, basically, if you like say win 59-3 against Louisville, you're in. You're not leaving out a team like that. I mean, you whipped Louisville's ass with a backup quarterback. You're in, kid. That's how Ohio State got in against Wisconsin. Like, one was probably that blue blood stats, but number two, and most importantly, they won without their starting quarterback, and they won without their backup quarterback, especially when the backup quarterback got hurt against Michigan, couldn't play in the Big Ten title game against Wisconsin. They shut out Wisconsin with their third-string quarterback, Cardell Jones. What happens? The Buckeyes get in. The Baylor Bears and the TCU Horned Frogs are raving mad about being left out. But what happens later on? Ohio State wins it all. TCU proves that they should have gotten in by smacking Ole Miss off the face of the earth in the Peach Bowl. And Baylor blows a 20-point lead against the Michigan State Spartans in the Cotton Bowl at the Jerry Dome. But Florida State, well, they were depressed after getting left out. I mean, and rightfully so. But I wish they had used momentum from being left out to go, we're going to beat the Georgia Bulldogs and we're going to show everybody we should have gotten in. I mean, that's what Alabama did in the 1967 Sugar Bowl against Nebraska. We were like, coaches poll, AP poll, you didn't choose us as your number one team. Y'all are like putting Notre Dame, Michigan State ahead of us. Well, the hell with that. We're going to smack Nebraska off the face of the earth. What happens? They do. TCU's like, you left us out of the 14 playoff field. What are we going to do about it, Scoop? Oh, yeah, we're going to beat Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. Show everybody a thing or two. I wish the Florida State Seminoles had done that, but it's like, you remember that SpongeBob episode where he breaks his bone or breaks his butt, and then he's staying inside forever and ever until Sandy and Patrick are like, oh, gotta get out, my dude. You gotta get out of the house sometime. That's Florida State ever since they've been left out. That has been the Florida State Seminoles. Yeah. They've been like SpongeBob, being so afraid that they're gonna break a bone, they're gonna get hurt, that they have forgotten everything else. That they've gone 2-10, 2-11 since being left out of the playoffs. That should wake their butts up. Be like, hey, you can't do that. Can't do that.
No, I mean, instead Florida State decided to roll over and die and then whine all offseason about it and then decide to play out arguably one of the worst seasons in their program's history and maybe one of the worst seasons in the history of the ACC.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. Pretty sad. So, in terms of this play...
And here's the... Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
You go, Austin.
No, you go ahead, Daryl. You go ahead.
The next thing I was going to ask you about this playoff structure was, since it's only around 1 year, do you think they should at least keep the straight seeding for the next playoff format? Because it seems like no matter what, we're going to go to automatic qualifiers. I like the straight seeding. I think these results need to be proven out on the field. I don't want to see the then if we go to automatic qualifier games, I'm worried non-conference games are going to be completely meaningless because 12, 13 of the spots is going to be guaranteed next year if the 4-4-2-2-1 model is correct. And I would just hate to see that only 3 teams are randomly selected. I like the subjective nature of college football. I like the debates and the arguments, and when it's subjectively applied, you just completely remove the debates.
What I'm really worried about is the future of each of the schedules, honestly. And what does that mean for where the SC is going to go? Are they going to do 8 games? Are they going to do 9 games? And whatever conference schedule they go with, how's it going to protect the other rivalries? Now, we know Alabama Auburn is going to be protected. We know Florida Georgia is going to be protected. We know Texas Oklahoma will be protected. We know Tennessee Vanderbilt will be protected. But what's going to happen to, say, Georgia Auburn, Georgia South Carolina? What's going to happen to Texas A&M? What's going to happen to Florida Auburn? What's going to happen to LSU Ole Miss? That's another thing. We know Ole Miss, Mississippi State's protected, but we know LSU Ole Miss. What's going to happen to that? What's going to happen to LSU Arkansas, LSU Texas A&M? These are the things I'm concerned about for the future. And what's happening to the non-con rivalries? Now, I know it's state legislature for Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, and Louisville, Kentucky, and Clemson, South Carolina to stay on. But there's no state legislature protecting Florida State, Miami, and from the ACC, and no state legislature protecting Florida, Miami. And I do worry about that a lot. That is what I'm kind of thinking about is how will it impact the rivalries that are currently going on and the rivalries that could be going away?
Yeah, I'm very worried about the 4 SEC, ACC rivalries: Georgia Tech, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisville, Clemson, South Carolina, Florida, Florida State. There's just, frankly, no reason to play them. There's almost no reason to play them. Unless you're Florida, Florida State, because both those teams and programs are absolute garbage right now. I mean, there's a reason to play that one, but literally there's no incentive going forward because Georgia was a top 4 SEC team at the end of the year. They would have been guaranteed a playoff spot, win, loss, or draw that game. Florida State, Florida, irrelevant because both the teams so bad they played themselves out. Louisville has, they were out. So that game doesn't matter. But, they were the closest probably of the 4. Clemson, South Carolina was probably the only one that mattered last year, and it's an exceptionally rare circumstance where you have 2 teams that are directly on the bubble playing in the final week just because they both happen to be on the bubble and 9-3. I mean, the odds of that happening is pretty slim, but so only one of those games would have been meaningful last year, and it's just, man, another thing about college football that I like is just going away or being reduced to nothing. It's just frustrating. Like, I'm sure you saw Pat Fort. He was on the Paul Feinbaum show today. I know, Jackson, one of your favorite shows because you call into it so often, was talking about how the SEC is going to be getting rid of conference championship game because there's no reason in the 4-4-2-2-1 model for Georgia and Texas to play.
Yeah.
It's just, I know originally they didn't have it, so it's kind of like I'm arguing against tradition and history, but, I like the top teams playing, having a unified champion. I liked it being settled out on the football field. I thought it was one of the few positive changes made in the direction of college football, and just being taken away. Instead, we're getting these stupid playing games between 3, 6, 4, 5 most likely. And gosh dang it, why does Iowa at 8-4, why do they need to be 1 game away from making the college football playoff? I'm sorry, they're 8-4. What happens when a 7-5 team, like, Michigan was only 1 game away? makes, or Iowa just had to lose to one different team and they wouldn't have been Minnesota or Michigan, somebody them. It's just ridiculous, man. When we see a 7-5 team make the college football playoff, it's just, I feel like I don't even need to explain how stupid it is. I feel like it should be pretty obvious why that would diminish the regular season to basically nothing.
Oh, it'd be extremely dumb to be an 8-4 team in the playoffs.
So I want to bring this up, and I think it's interesting. So if we were to use this upcoming year's seeding model, this is what last year's would have looked like. And I'll bring this up because you mentioned it, Darrell, how Boise State, Indiana could have been more competitive. What do we think of this new revised field? And it kind of goes into what you're talking about, Darrell. Do we think if this is the future of what it holds, talking about the structure, would this be a structure we'd be okay with?
Yeah, and I think in terms of straight seating and everything, I think this is an ideal structure. Like the actual format, like the number of teams is a different issue, but in terms of the format, this is great. The games are equitable. The seeding seems right. Like first, like Tennessee, they were the 7th best team. Indiana's the 8th best team in the rankings. Makes sense. They get to host home games. Now they were completely robbed of it. Now something I hope happens going forward that happened last year is when Warren Manuel said conference championship games don't matter. Well, if we flipped Penn State and Ohio State, just flip those two teams, this would have been perfect for last year's in terms of the format because Ohio State had a significantly better resume than Penn State. Actually, inarguably better resume than Penn State.
And I want to say this too as well, Darrell. Looking at the matchups, Indiana-Boise, I think would have been a great matchup. Notre Dame-Clemson, that would have been a fun game in South Bend. Ohio State, Arizona State, okay. That might be the one where you're just like, okay. Tennessee-SMU, I think that would have been a fun, competitive game. I know it's in Knoxville, but I think that would have been really good. Like, because I think it would have been much better than what they got with Penn State. And even B. Bean agrees. He thinks the bracket would have been much better. So we're all in agreement.
Right, but I like how the 5 would probably be significantly favored over the 12. The 6 would be significantly favored over the 11. The 7 and 10 game, Tennessee's probably slightly favored, but it's not by much. And the 8-9 game's a toss-up. This is a good sign of a good bracket because the closer you get in terms of seeding, the more equitable the two teams are. That's how it should be. We shouldn't have the 3rd seed be significant underdogs. That is, when you have that as a bracket, your bracket is fundamentally bad and broken.
And I want to say this too, Darrell. If this is what the bracket looks like going forward, I'm all for the straight seeding model. The thing is, the only thing I have problem with it is like you said, though, is the Penn State-Ohio State debacle of the conference championship. That Penn State would have gotten the nod because they played in a conference title game and Ohio State did not. But it goes back to Ohio State beat Penn State, so what is that worth anymore? I think that's the only flaw if this was the bracket. I think we all can agree. Oregon, number 1, straight seed, no problem. Georgia, number 2, got it right. Texas, got it right. I think if you flip Ohio State, Penn State, correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, but this would be close to as perfect of a bracket as we could have gotten with this year's model.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Now, the only thing that's going to really test this bracket, Austin, I'm going to float this into the ether early because I know it's going to get people upset, but it could happen. What if 3 SEC teams get buys? What if that happens?
Like, that's a legit possibility. I mean, like, I know that's going to upset people, but it's a legit possibility, Darrell, because most years, like it or not, the SEC have the 3 best teams, 3 out of the 4 best teams within the top 5. Most years.
I wonder if and when that happens. Do you think there's more? I think that people are just going to complain about it because the SEC, they just hate the SEC. Even though it could be like you have a team that it's 12-0, you have 3 12-0 teams, and they still would complain. That's just my theory on that. That's the only way it could be legitimately tested. But with how large these conferences are, and how you play a lot of the bad teams going forward, I think it's very possible you could see one conference get 3 of the top 4 spots.
And here's the thing too, Daryl. I don't disagree, because if we use these 4 right here, you could make a case, okay, Georgia, Texas, fine. But you look at Tennessee. Is there an argument to be made Tennessee could jump Penn State? If everything fell in line, could they have jumped Penn State? Maybe. And there would be your third one. Would you agree with that, Daryl? Tennessee could have a good shot? Or
I mean,
you think
maybe I don't think last year their resume stacked up to it, but I think going forward, there's going to be a third SEC team. The SEC is just deeper. That's why I think it'll be the SEC. Somebody between the combination of Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, South Carolina, this hodgepodge of teams that finish 9-3. You think one of them, just by happenstance, is going to go 10-2 because they got an easier draw, or they happen to play well on a Saturday when the other team didn't, and that would bump them into the conversation. Because that's all the real difference is one game. And, what if they beat the SEC champion, but they lose 2 other games? Well, now maybe they'll reward them by giving them a bye, especially if the Big Ten, they kind of don't play anybody that's strong, and they're like, man, these 3 SEC teams win 11-1, 11-1, 10-2, but the Big Ten, they played up a bunch of scrub teams because, I talked about earlier how they're not going by strength of scheduling, but I remembered I saw Josh Pate's show earlier, and he was talking about how they are going to emphasize strength of schedule. I'm not sure if you saw his new episode tonight, his new show, but it seemed like he was pretty certain in that. Like he had some, this is just from me as a viewer, what I inferred from his statement, but it seemed like he was pretty sure that they were going to change it. And by that, I mean, he was basically saying as a fact, they are going to look at strength of schedule going forward. They are going to heavily weight it going forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if a 10-2 SEC team that happened to lose to Georgia twice, happened to lose to Texas twice, would sneak into that 4th spot.
And I want to say this too, Daryl. Notre Dame's going to factor in somehow to this. Like, what worries me is, I know Jackson's going to get mad at me for saying this, but there's some years where Notre Dame's schedule is absolutely a dog heap. But they just keep winning and winning and winning, and they keep moving up the ranks, and I'm like, and it's almost a reverse Indiana. It's like the one year with Sam Hartman, the year they were still ranked in the top 15, I believe, in the final poll, even after going, I believe, 9-3, 8-4, and they played absolutely nobody. That upset me, and I worry that that's what's going to happen with this. Is Notre Dame's gonna be like, okay, let's schedule cream puffs, and guess what? We'll steal an SEC or Big Ten spot, and who's gonna stop us now? Because we don't have to join a conference. That's what worries me about this thing.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I think they should write something like, you have to be in a conference going forward. I don't think it's fair Notre Dame gets to pick and choose their schedule and basically quasi being the ACC while not being in the ACC. I mean, my goodness. I mean, Notre Dame doesn't care. They're trying to stack up on these. They're canceling their USC game. I saw Joe Klatt. I was watching Dan Patrick saying this is going to be the last USC versus Notre Dame game. It's like, man,
they're already doing it.
Right. Just another thing that we like that's just going away.
And guess what, Daryl? It's going to happen where you're going to look at Notre Dame's schedule, and every game except for maybe 1 or 2 will be in the Power 5. They'll start scheduling all the G5 teams,
Maybe. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Judging
then-
by, I am close to the acceptance stage of grief.
And listen, Jackson's used to Notre Dame being ragged on, but I want to ask you guys this: you Darrell and you Jackson. So, out of this new format and this new structure, how many newcomers you think we could possibly have this year, or will it be the same hodgepodge of teams? You think we'll have any newcomers?
All depends on who it is.
What do you mean by newcomer? Do you mean teams that have never been in the playoffs from 2014 to 2025 making it? Or do you mean teams different from last year to this year?
So what I mean, Darrell, does this open up new opportunity for a team that's never made it once before? Could a Kansas State or another team possibly make their way into it with this new straight seeding?
I mean, they would have to do it the same way it was done last year, which is win your conference.
Yeah.
It's harder to do it because there's not going to be any flukes, but the only way to do it for a Kansas State, this is an exclusionary thing going to straight seed. It's good for the game because we're getting better matchups and good teams, but this is exclusionary. Let's not kid ourselves. We're going to get a new G5 team. I can almost guarantee that. Like, since Boise State, the odds are between the entire group of 5, somebody else is going to happen to be better than them. So that's one right there that's probably going to happen. And then the Big 12, my gosh, what are the odds Arizona State or TCU doesn't win the Big 12? I would say that's pretty high. I would say that's like 95% level of confidence. Oh, yeah.
Do we still have faith in Utah?
Utah's never made the college football playoffs. If they won it, that would be new. So, they could even make it. I don't think they're going to win it because Cam Rising was super old and then decided to retire. So that whole situation got botched into an unbelievable proportion. But, anybody can win that conference. You could say Kansas is going to win it, and that, sure, why not? Anybody. And in the similar thing in the ACC where I could see Louisville winning it this year. I could see Georgia Tech winning it this year. Those are two teams that I think are dark horses that can win it. Duke is another one. NC State. Well, I'm a little lower on NC State, but yeah, there's teams out there in the ACC that can win it. That's not Clemson or SMU. And all it takes is one performance now because it's a conference championship game and you're guaranteed in. Whereas before, it wasn't that case. So, and I don't think Clemson's going to be good this year. So, I really like us having at least one, probably 2 new teams, maybe even on a best day 3.
So, you're not high on Clemson, Darrell. I've seen a lot of people pick Cade Klubnik. I think right now he's Vegas' pick to win the Heisman. A lot of people are picking Clemson. I've seen some pick Clemson to win the ACC. I've even seen some have Clemson winning it all. Like, legit, not even joking you.
Yeah, I know.
So
I don't
you're not
get
high.
I mean, no, Cade Klubnik's their bad quarterback. Did you watch him play? Did you watch him play against good teams? He was awful.
Yeah.
Except for he had one somehow. I don't know what happened. He was completely garbage against all the good teams he played. And then against Texas, he just came in to be like the best quarterback of all time. I think that Texas game is more of an outlier than anything else. I think it was kind of awkward because of the rust versus rest thing. And, I think that played somewhat of a factor in it. I don't know. I mean, he played well, but I'm not going to take one game and say, man, I'm going to play that for the entire season. I think it's very possible they lose to LSU week 1 and they're just completely written off by week 5 or 6, in my opinion. Like, I saw Cade Klubnik play. I'm sorry, you beat up on Virginia, Boston College, Pitt, Stanford, those level teams, and it's like, whoop-de-doo, man. Good for you. I mean, he didn't look great against South Carolina. He looked whatever beyond atrocious is against Louisville. I mean, I could have been the quarterback for Clemson. I think I would have done about as well against Louisville as he did. So I'm not buying them at all. Dabo Swinney's a coach that is 5 years too late in the transfer portal area. He doesn't know what he's doing with this new era. I don't believe in him. I don't believe in the offense. Their wide receiver unit, especially, has gone down ever since Sammy Watkins left. They've been regressing ever since Trevor Lawrence left that program. And all of a sudden, because they got some stability, they're supposed to be national champion. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I just do not buy it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. I will not understand it. I may be proven wrong, and they go out and beat LSU by 28 points, and they just completely light the world on fire. But I need to see it before I can believe it. Because, if they beat LSU, when's the last time they've beaten a team that good?
Long time.
Exactly.
Has it been since Alabama? The year they won it against Bama? Not even joking you. Has it been that long? You might be onto something, Daryl. I'm trying to think. Oh, hold on. Has it been since they've beaten Alabama? No, probably since the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. But yeah, to your point though, Daryl. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even occurred. It's been longer than this decade. That should tell you everything you have to know. When you have to think about it, it's usually not a good indication of where the program's going. I'm sorry, and they relied too much on Phil Boffa last year, and I think he's gone, or he was hurt a ton, so he's not going to be nearly as good even if he's coming back. But I'm pretty sure he's gone. I'm just not a believer in Clemson. I'm sorry, I'm just flatly not a believer in them.
And I want to bring this up too, Daryl, because this all has to do with playoffs. You're talking about the SEC, hodgepodge. Well, this is currently what Vegas has via FanDuel, the win totals. Right now, Bama, Georgia, Texas lead the pack. And LSU and Ole Miss are right there. So if we were basing this off straight seeding, these would be the teams that could be the teams that could possibly, in your theory, Daryl, get 3 out of the 4 buys. Are you confident in these win totals?
I mean, I would have to look at the specific schedules before going into win totals. I remember I know it's the opposite, home and away. So if you were like Kentucky played at Texas last year, instead Texas is going to go to Kentucky, which means Kentucky is going to get absolutely destroyed by Texas at home this year instead of on the road. That's the only difference. But I like Texas currently. I mean, their schedule was one of the easiest last year. They had to play Mississippi State, and they have to play Kentucky and Vanderbilt. And if you look at the bottom right quadrant of that graphic, you'll notice the teams I'm talking about and where they're at, and that's why I'm a believer in them. Oklahoma's another one. There's a reason they're all on that right side of the column and not the left column. So I'd like Texas again to go back. Alabama, 9.5 is a bit tricky because, I'd go with the over because but then, I don't believe in Bart Simpson. That's my issue. Do you believe in Bart Simpson to actually throw the football? Because he couldn't do it against USF.
Here's the thing about Alabama, Daryl. We're going to find out real quick what they're made of when they go at Florida State. We're going to find out what they are. Because if they win that game and it's not convincing, then Alabama fans are in for a rough year. But if they win convincing, then they may have found something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that line is 13.5. I saw.
I mean,
either Alabama's missing a bowl game in the first time in forever, or Florida State is going to be ranked, and it's going to be a miracle. One of those two things is happening because of that line. That's what it's telling me. Florida State, if they played Alabama last year, they would probably have lost by 70 if Alabama tried their hardest.
Yeah,
but then there's about 4 or 5 losable games on this schedule. UGA, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. Those are all, and at Auburn. So there's 5 or 6 losable games on that schedule. But it's Alabama. But I don't believe in their quarterback. I saw him against USF. I saw the team didn't believe in him. That's all I needed to know. I think it's going to be a pretty rough year for Alabama. I think they're going to go 8-4, which is the worst season they've had probably since 2007, which means it's basically the end times for them. So that should be fun to listen to on the Paul Feinbaum show. That'll be something to look forward to. It's also, I don't know if you watch that show since you're an ACC fan. I'll tell you what, watch it when Alabama loses. Just watch those days, those Mondays when Alabama loses.
Oh gosh,
it's the best show.
Listen, Daryl, I watch clips because that's all I can take sometimes. But some of them are downright delusional. Like I heard one the other day say that Alabama was going to beat Georgia by 3 touchdowns in Athens, and I'm just like, well, okay, what gives you faith in that prediction? And they're like, we got the best head coach in the SEC. And I'm like, okay, now I know I'm in the crazy zone.
Yeah, if you could, I saw BB posted, thank you, BB, by posting Georgia and Texas schedule. That's very nice of him to do that. I mean, look at that schedule. How many games of those do you think they could realistically lose? I know they struggled somewhat last year, but in terms of their recruiting talent, their head coaching advantage, and all that stuff,
I think
Tennessee, Bama, Ole Miss, those are probably the 3.
I would say Auburn, Georgia Tech, and Bama. Because they got to go to Auburn. And they've had trouble historically in the past going to Auburn. I think that could be a troublesome game.
No, they haven't struggled. No, Auburn's too bad. Auburn doesn't have a quarterback. Auburn doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they'll bring their A game against Georgia and Alabama. We know that.
But Georgia has looked. I believe Georgia has completely dominated that series as of recently.
Yeah, but the games are always close, and the experts have it when it's played at Auburn.
Yeah, I know, but still, Georgia comes out with the victory because they're the better team.
Now, Daryl, I want to give your team credit here. Could Kentucky be an upset potential because they're coming off Bama? Could they overlook you if they win?
No.
You think y'all are going to be that bad?
I mean, I'm looking at us like we're Toledo or Miami of Ohio or Kent State. Well, not Kent State because they're even worse than that. But, we're basically a glorified G5 team. We're closer to 2012 Kentucky than we are a 4-4 SEC team right now.
I wish Auburn, Georgia was played in November like it used to be, but I mean, that's why I say I wish, because I know it's not happening anytime soon. But that ship sailed a long time ago, unfortunately.
I know. It's another, just those things that are taken away from you, Jackson, slowly and steady. Austin, I appreciate the fact you're trying to give me some hope as a Kentucky fan, but we got Zach Calzada as our quarterback, which should just tell you we're not even trying to win this season. We're just out there hoping to have a good time. That's what we're gonna do. I'm looking forward to week 1 when I think we play Toledo. I'm looking forward to that 28-3 ugly win where Zach Calzada probably has 1 touchdown, 2 picks. We might have a fumble, but we somehow win the game 28-3. That's what I'm looking forward to is week 1.
So, Daryl, you're that low on Kentucky.
Yeah. Did I just tell you who my quarterback was?
Zach Calzada.
Okay. I just want to make sure Austin heard that because I don't think he knows how bad he was. He got so bad he goes castaway from the SEC. I'm pretty sure he was a castaway from Missouri. Not like Missouri last year or the year before that, like Missouri when they were a trash can.
Daryl, I'm going to call my shot right here, and I want you to hold this. Kentucky's going to go 8-4. I guarantee it.
Guarantee it.
And I'm being dead serious. Yes, I guarantee it. Kentucky's going to go 8-4. Because Mark Stoops does this every time. When the fan base gets down on him, he finds a way to win 8-9 games out of it and saves his job. And I feel like this is one of those years where he's going to win 8 games and win a bowl game.
Austin, if you could, since this is on your YouTube channel, you edit this out, make it a short, and then have it schedule for December just after the Louisville game's played, and then when they go 2-10 or 3-9, it'll make tons of views.
I mean,
I'm not gonna clown
listen to
you
it.
for that because it's like I remember you got clowned for having Florida getting 8 wins for 2024. What happened? They got 8 wins for 2024.
Hey, listen,
I'm
if
a
it happens,
madman.
it happens. But I mean, let's look at the schedule, okay, for Kentucky. Okay, week 1, that should be a win. Also, if you look at these
Yes.
ticket prices, that tells you how good Kentucky football is, okay? You look at those 20s,
$19.
that $19, that's a good sign of how good our Kentucky football team's going to be. Ole Miss, we'll lose by about 30 points, maybe 25 points. Eastern Michigan, we might beat them. We might lose. I'm not trolling. We might lose to them. I know they beat Arizona State a few years ago. We might lose to them. Back to back. I mean, look at that 4-game stretch. Look at that. I'm not trolling. We might lose that stretch a combined 125-0. South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's just LLL written all over it.
Real, you're going to go 2-2 in that stretch. Mark it down.
2-2.
You're going to beat South Carolina and you're going to beat Tennessee.
We're going to beat at least 2 top 20 teams.
But oh man, I would love to see Kentucky beat Tennessee. That's always fun to see.
I'd love to see Tennessee lose because anytime Tennessee loses, America wins, you know.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Now, this is interesting. At Auburn, then you get Florida late in the year, Tennessee Tech at Vandy, at Louisville. That's where it gets hairy.
That's where it gets hairy, not the 4 top 10 possibly teams we played before that stretch. This is the stretch where it gets hairy.
And BB, I know what you're implying. No. Like Jackson said, I'm a madman. I take risks and I make predictions that no one else will take. And I believe in my heart and hearts, this is an 8-4 schedule, and I will shout it from the rooftop. This is 8-4, screaming all over it.
B-Bean's asking for your medical marijuana license, Austin. He's making sure your license is valid and not forged.
I mean, but in all seriousness, though, Darrell, this is where it gets hairy, though, in my opinion, because you're coming off that big Tennessee win, and this is where it gets hairy because you're going to be, yes, we're 7-2, something like that, and then this is where
we're 7-2. We'll be the number 1 team in the country, which probably ain't happening, or at least we should be the number 1 team.
You'll lose 2 of these games, but then you'll right the ship and you'll win the big one.
Tennessee Tech?
No, you'll beat Louisville. I have y'all beating us this year.
I don't.
Like, I hate to say that, but I feel like it's gonna happen. We can't have nice things.
I'm not trolling. We will probably lose every single power. We'll be underdogs in literally every single Power 4 game this year. There isn't a single game on that schedule we're going to be favored in. We'll be at least double-digit underdogs in at least 5 or 6 games this year. We'll be double-digit underdogs against Ole Miss, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Louisville. That's 6 right there. And if things really go sideways, we could be a double-digit underdog against Florida or Auburn. Dude, we might even be a double-digit underdog against Vanderbilt. That's how bad we'll be. We were Vanderbilt before Vanderbilt. We can out Vandy, okay? Like, you all think Vandy was bad in 2023? No. When you lose by 40 consistently to horrendous teams, that's when you're peak Vanderbilt. And only us. We're the original bad team in the SEC. We're the original. Hey, we got 2-star recruits and 1-star recruits solely because we play in the SEC. And we got a bunch of kids that just want to play against NFL caliber players.
So, real fast, Daryl, BB wants to know where I got the 8 wins at. Do you mind if I enlighten everyone on these 8 wins?
Please clip this, Jackson, this segment out. Please
Oh,
clip this and schedule it for me, please. I will gladly
Jackson?
apologize publicly if I'm wrong, but there's almost no way I'm wrong. This is no offense, Austin. This is like arguing that the Earth is flat. Okay, that's how radical of a statement you're making is. Okay.
Here's the thing. I said Florida was going to win 8 games when everyone thought I was nuts. So I'm willing to take this risk again. I'm a gambling man. So I think you all will beat Toledo. I think you will beat Eastern Michigan. I think you will upset South Carolina, upset Tennessee. There's 4. I think you'll beat Florida. You'll beat Tennessee Tech. You'll beat Vandy, and you'll beat Louisville. There's 8. Any disagreements?
well,
Jackson, what color is the sky? Does it rain water when rain comes down, or does it rain spaghetti?
Well, the
These
sky
are the
is
type
black.
of questions we're asking on the show
black right
today.
now because it's dark.
That is fair.
So
I'm sorry, Austin. I would love to be proven wrong, but it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
It's going to happen, Darrell. You got to have faith.
I don't. I think it's because I understand why. You have PTSD probably from Mark Stoops whooping on you so much. So you're a Louisville fan. And let me tell you, this big bad wildcat that was in your closet at night isn't there anymore. He's just a little kitty cat now. He's just running around roaming. He's just eating. He's by the dumpster. He's just the cat that's just wandering around the streets and just eating the scraps. And that's what we're doing right now.
Listen, Darrell, listen. I'm trying to be nice and not show my bias. I am trying to look at this logically and reasonable. There's 8 wins there. I know you're down and you're just playing it off, but Darrell, deep down, you know there's 8 wins there too. Come on. This is Mark Stoops we're talking about, a guy who has a history and who has made a living on doing this. When Kentucky fans get down on him, he finds a way to win 7-8 games.
Yeah, that's the Louisville fan talking because you just see him somehow win, despite you all being 9-4, 8-3, or 9-3, 8-4. No. Trust me, it's the SEC. I don't know how to explain it, Jackson, but I think it just means more as a good encapsulation. Don't you think?
yeah.
And when it just means more, you just play better competition than the ACC. So these teams are legit NFL junior teams, especially in the case of Georgia. We're not in Texas. We're going to be lucky to even be competitive in most of our games this year.
We do catch Texas a little bit after the Red River rivalry, so Texas could be napping a little bit. Not saying
they could be asleep for a half and we would still lose. They could be asleep the whole game and we'd. The problem is we're just not good enough anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue. Our team isn't good enough. I don't know the vision we're going through, the direction we're going through. We've changed. We have 5 different offensive coordinators in 5 years. That's a complete mess. We're changing offenses every single year. Our defense is lackluster, and the only player that was good is Maxwell Harrison, who's now gone for the NFL draft. We have quarterbacks. We just change them out every single year. I mean, it was Brock Vandagriff. He was supposed to be the answer. He was so bad he retired from the sport itself last year. Then we had Will Levis, who somehow was a second-round pick, and we didn't do anything with him. And then the year before that, we had somebody different. Just an endless cycle of just new faces, but not all that changing. It's just frustrating.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this, Darrell. I wish you all the best. And like Jackson said, we will make sure to clip this and have it ready by December. And we will make sure we will have it ready when Kentucky wins those 8 games, Darrell. I don't want to say I told you so, but I will in that case.
That's fine. You know me, more than willing to be proven wrong, and I always come back. when I'm proven wrong.
And BB even said Tennessee could be a toss-up due to Nico gone. And that's one of the reasons why I picked that as an upset, because even though Tennessee has the better talent, their quarterback situation is kind of hairy. At least Kentucky knows who they're walking into that game with.
I
And
like
BB
how he
Austin
has
says
to go down. Somebody might be hurt. That's the way he can rationalize it. That could be true for literally every matchup at that point in the season. Well, if this key player's hurt, then what if Illinois beats Ohio State because Jeremiah Smith's out? That could happen. If you have to think about it, yeah, I know. If you have to think about the injuries, the odds of you winning, slim to none, closer to none.
I mean, be honest with you, Dario, Alabama could win the SEC because all the team's best players could get hurt. I mean, it's just a possibility of what can happen.
I said we talked about some college football, but you mind if I bring up a little bit of college baseball? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, Austin, I'd like to congratulate you on making the postseason once again. I know you're a new member to this. We've made it 3 straight years in a row. So just welcome back, and good luck against the number 1 team in the country there, pal. Well, we'll just cruise on into the Supers. Since we play in the Clips, we'll just cruise on in there since we don't have to play an SEC team. We just get a down West Virginia team, and then we play a Clemson team that's only got 1.5 good pitchers. It's going to be nice, man.
Yep. I'll say this. Out of our draw, though, with Vandy, and that concerns me because Vandy is great at baseball. That's like one of their calling cards. So when I saw we got that draw, I thought immediately, I'm like, well, it was a nice season while it lasted. But maybe there's a chance. Never say never. But like you said, though, Dario, yeah. And I want to say congrats to Kentucky.
I like how you completely skipped over the powerhouse that is East Tennessee State University. I'm not even trolling. I think they play in the first
round. And here's the thing, too. I'll say this, too. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good baseball series. I really do. But I think... Hold on. Wait, Austin is wearing a Buff shirt? Yes, it's Deion Sanders. My grandparents are originally from Colorado. So they bring me a lot of swag from Colorado. So I've got a lot of Buff shirts in my closet. So I wear it from time to time. And I like Deion Sanders.
Well,
but anyway, back to... Go for it, Jack.
I'll tell you this. I know we're either going to get the first 3 weeks of the 2025 TV schedule announcements later this week, or it's going to be sometime next week. That'll be fun to see where everybody's going to be on for weeks 1, 2, and 3.
And to your point, though, Dario, I got to ask real fast, Jackson. Dario, out of all the regional hosts, which one do you think is likely to lose first?
I would cop out and take the obvious answer, which is the 16th seed, but that's the easy thing to do. We're not doing that. We're going to go Florida State, the non-seed, as the most likeliest. Northeastern, man, they can play some baseball. I don't know. I mean, they've won 27 straight games, and that feels like a lot. That feels like they're a pretty good team. I saw they're actually, according to some analytics, favored to win the region outright. So I would have them as the favorite. And they've only got one good pitcher. And granted, he's the best prospect since he's like a Chase Burns or Paul Skees. But outside of James Arnold, their depth outside of that is pretty lackluster. And then another team to keep an eye on is the Coastal Carolina. Man, Coastal Carolina got a rough draw by playing Florida. Florida was a quasi team that could have hosted a regional. And I just feel like Florida's in a significantly better conference. They performed significantly better. And the Sun Belt was just atrocious outside of Southern Miss, Coastal, and Troy. So I don't know how much battle-tested Coastal Carolina is. Now, I know they won something like 40 8 games, I want to say, which is incredible for a baseball season. But Florida's just more talented across the board.
Now, I want to say this too, Daryl. I could see, and this may be controversial, but Texas at number 2, I could see them maybe getting the boot, and here's why, too, Daryl. I think they won 0 road games versus a ranked team and 3-7 in their last 10 SEC games, and they kind of limped into the 2 seed. I could see them getting the boot.
And fair, and more, I would say, just as importantly, they play the Roadrunners of UTSA. No disrespect to the Roadrunners. They did beat Texas in a they've already beaten Texas in a midweek game, so they're not going to be intimidated by that environment. And they weren't going to host, so they knew for a while they were going to have to go on the road and be a 2 seed. And they're legitimately, like, if you look at their RPI, they're, I think, top 30 in RPI. They're somewhere around there. So they're a legitimately good baseball team. They're not a team that's going to lay over and die as a mid-major team. They're one of the few mid-major teams that I think can make a run this season. The fact they got to go to Texas is a tough draw because, college baseball. No, Florida's not going to win the national championship in college baseball. I don't think so. I mean, they could. They're the teams I think can win, and you got your SEC heavy load of Georgia, Texas, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Auburn, and those type of teams that can win in or national seeds who can win it.
Call me crazy, Daryl, but I think North Carolina's got a good shot to win it out of the ACC.
Yeah. They won the ACC, and they looked good, too. They looked good. I like their closer against the Clemson game. Like, they run well Clemson, and Clemson's a good ball club. I know there was 3 days versus 4 day stuff, but North Carolina's their pitching, their power and stuff. They've got a complete team. I think North Carolina is the best team in the ACC by a pretty decent margin, which is pretty significant since the ACC is the second best conference. I also like Georgia Tech to make a run because it's Danny Hall's last season. He's been the head coach forever. I'd like to see Georgia Tech make the World Series.
I think another good one too, Daryl, is I could see a world where Oregon makes a run at it. Even though they lost to Nebraska badly, I still think Oregon's a really good team. I think they could make a run for a World Series.
I mean, I know they're not national seed. I don't know who they're a 14, right?
They're 12.
They're a 12, so they'd have to go against North Carolina if the regionals play out. That's tough draw. But I think Cal Poly is a pretty good opponent for them. I think traveling out west is a significant advantage, though, or disadvantage for the teams having to travel out west because they actually have to get on an airplane, fly. It's further away. I think that difference, because only the West Coast teams that have to go east do it because of it's just too far away. So I do think Oregon's a good pick to make at least the regionals. I don't know about making the World Series because North Carolina is such a good team from top to bottom.
Yes. That's one of the things, too. Clemson, who's 11, who they lost to in the title game, it's just, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, but I feel like North Carolina is basically, it's North Carolina, and then it's, like you mentioned, those hodgepodge SEC teams. And then kind of after that, it's kind of a pick your battle of who you think
there's a
win.
I would say, you got that. I would say in the tier 2 is your Florida State, Clemson, Oregon State, Coastal Carolina, UCLA. That's a good one. I think that's your next tier of teams. I think one of those teams that I just listed is probably going to make the World Series. But you know this. There's a 2 seed out there, and there's some 3 seed out there that nobody's talking about that has no business. Who's going to make it? And there's some 4 seed up there out there like US Upstate or something like that, or that's going to do great. Stetson, they went unbelievably hot in the A-Sun. Western Kentucky's another one unbelievably hot in the Conference USA. One of these teams from these main majors, one of these mid-major teams or one of these teams in the Power Five that underperformed expectations, like Oklahoma State is another good example, is going to come out hot. Their bats are going to be on fire. They're going to have good pitching, and they're going to surprise everybody and play up to their potential. And they're going to shock everybody and win a regional. Yeah, it's going to happen.
And here's the thing, too, Darrell. I feel bad for Ole Miss. I feel like they got a bad draw.
Oh, they got the worst draw.
They play Murray State in round 1, and then they play the winner of Georgia Tech, Western Kentucky. Yikes!
Yeah, that's easily the toughest regional.
Yes, because when I saw the selection show and I saw that they got left with that, I was like, oh, yeah, Ole Miss might be an early exit.
Yeah, I saw Western, based on some projection, I saw Western Kentucky is actually the second best team to win that region. That region's offensive loaded. It honestly surprised me if Murray State doesn't win that regional. Murray State is a legit team and a legit conference. The Missouri Valley has had 2 teams that have won regionals in the last 2 years, with Evansville and Indiana State. They don't play just scrubs in that conference. Like normally with these 4 seeds, they play like I think Binghamton is a 4 seed. They're probably going to get swept. Little Rock, they got they're going to get swept. They were an 8 seed. They were below 500. They're done. They're not. They're just happy to be there. Now, Murray State is they're going to win. They're going to be there trying to win. Central Connecticut State, I think it is. Or just Central Connecticut, they're going to be another team that I think can, as a 4 seed, do some damage.
I want to add to Darrell on the topic. You all play West Virginia, but if all plays out and it's Kentucky Clemson, do you like that as a second round matchup? Do you like that? Does that favor you?
I like it because we could have got a much worse draw, frankly, in terms of ACC caliber teams we were going to have to play. Ideally, I would have liked to play. I'm not a believer in Oregon. I'm not a believer in the Big Ten when it comes to baseball at all. So I'd have liked to play one of the Big Ten teams, to be perfectly honest with you. But when I saw Clemson, it's not like I'm intimidated by Clemson. We play a unique, Kentucky and Louisville play a similar style of baseball. We play small ball baseball, which is something they rarely seen throughout the season. So I think that's going to be to our advantage. When you have to learn something completely different that you haven't faced before, and we've got the experience factor that Clemson doesn't have in making it super far. And, man, we were so close. Kentucky's that almost team. Man, we almost won that series. Man, we almost won that game. You felt like eventually this is going to have to turn around where Kentucky's actually going to win a few of these games.
Yeah.
Kentucky – they could have easily been a national seed. I know it's crazy because they were a bubble team. We had 15 games decided by 1 or 2 runs, somewhere around there. I don't think that's exactly right, but you get the gist. It's insane how close Kentucky was this year.
And I want to point out too, Darrell, and as I saw on Selection Sunday, the Arkansas region, don't sleep on that. I think that has the potential to be a sneaky good region. Arkansas, North Dakota, Creighton, Kansas. I feel like there could be an upset in that region. Arkansas could go down to Kansas or Creighton.
Yeah, I haven't watched much of the Big 12 and Big East baseball, to be honest with you. I feel like, though, the Big East probably should have gotten more than one team. I know Xavier had intent to schedule. They had the number 4 non-conference strength of schedule. And they still didn't get in, even despite playing everybody. Connecticut, they're a historically good team. They had a good RPI, didn't make the field either. I would have liked to seen at least one of them 2 in, but Arkansas could lose. But Arkansas, I feel like I'm a believer in Arkansas. I'm just not a believer in the Big 12/Big East. That's just my opinion. I'm just flat. The Big 12 baseball is similar to their football conference, where it's you got a bunch of just slightly above average teams just constantly beating up on one another.
And another team, Darrell, Mississippi State. They're a team that starts getting hot around this time of year. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run for it. They always seem to play the best baseball around this time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we seen them in the Supers or the World Series.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a dark horse pick. That almost. I mean, I'm seeing tons of people pick Mississippi State as that 3 seed to advance to win the regionals. So that would not shock
I
me at
mean,
all.
that's a good pick though, Dario, because like I said, they play their best around this time.
I
Whatever it
know.
is,
Everybody's picking them, so it's obviously a good pick.
and I'll say this too, Dario, another dark horse pick, UC Irvin. I think they could make a sneaky run. Their region's not that bad. They got
Oh yeah.
Arizona State, Fresno, and UCLA. I mean, but I could see UC Irvin going on another run like they did once before.
Oh yeah. UC Irvine can absolutely do it. I know they lost to Cal Poly in the finals, but they're good. They were the best team. The Big West is a legit conference. Them, Cal Poly, and Hawaii. They're good teams in that league. They're not. It's another league where they don't just constantly play scrubs. And I'm pretty sure UC Irvine had intent to schedule, and they played some good non-conference opponents this year as well. So I completely agree with you on your UC Irvine. I'm really excited that the West Coast this year, in terms of college baseball, has actually got more representation, more appreciation. Because there's a few years where it's just, it's always similar to college football, where if you're out east and that's it, man.
Northwestern, Dario. I've seen a lot of people pick them to go far because they were 48-9 in the regular season, including, and I believe that includes conference tournament. Yeah. Northwestern's a hot pick. I've seen a lot of
You mean
experts pick them to go far.
Eastern, not Western. Western
Eastern,
didn't make it.
Thank you, Dario. My bad.
Yeah,
Northeastern.
Northeastern's that team. I think they're going to upset Florida State. I think they're going to upset Florida State, and I think they're going to make the super regionals. That's, to me, is like one of the only teams
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Dario. I could see that. I don't know why I said Northwestern, Northeastern, but yeah, I mean, like I said, Dario, I wish y'all luck though. I mean, it would be nice to see a Kentucky Louisville World Series. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But Kentucky, I will say this: you all, I think, will go farther than we will, and that's me being unbiased.
Well, you've got a tough draw because you play the number 1 team in the country. The only thing that'll save you is your game occurs after our game. That's probably the only thing that's going to save you, because we got 2 versus 3 matchups here. Anything can happen. You know how it is with these conference tournaments and stuff. People saving their arms and trying not to be fatigued. Where Kentucky had to go all out because they're a bubble team. West Virginia, I don't know if they went all out because they were a bubble hosting team. So there's a lot before the game that determines the outcome of a game. Like last week in college baseball determines what's going to happen next week a lot of the times.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. And I'll say this is I think too, Daryl, I feel like you mentioned if college football and college baseball are a lot alike, as in before you know it, Daryl, we'll be seeing the quarterbacks and stuff sitting out to prepare for the playoffs. We're going to start seeing that, and kind of like we do with baseball, it's going to get that way. Which
that's going to be annoying. I can't wait for Jackson. It's Alabama versus Auburn, and then Ty Simpson not playing the game because Alabama's locked into the playoffs at 11-1.
Oh God, it's like it's happening.
I gotta ask though, and Daryl, Jackson, how do you feel about Alabama this year? You think Bama can go on a run?
Oh yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Daryl? You think Jackson's Crimson Tide got a chance to go far in the college baseball?
Oh, in baseball, absolutely. Absolutely, they got a chance to go far. There's like 10 or 11 SEC teams that I think could go to the World Series this year. So it wouldn't really shock me if any of the 13 did, to be honest with you. But, I think Kentucky would be a bit of a surprise. I think Mississippi State kind of would be a surprise because they have to, as 3 seeds, it's harder to make the College World Series, I feel like, because you have to play more good teams to get there.
I mean, would it shock you, Daryl, if Western made it to the World Series?
Yeah, if they made it that far, that would be shocking. Because I don't think their depth is good enough to make it there. I think they got fat on cupcakes this year. You look at their strength of schedule overall, atrocious. I think it was in the low 200s. So
Yeah.
270 something, 280 something around there. Not good. So this is their first real week of quality competition they've had to play all season.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. They played at Illinois State, Southern Indiana, Lafayette College, Murray State, which is really good, EKU, Central Michigan, Tennessee Tech, UNC Asheville. Yeah, that's not very good. Okay,
A lot of
I see your point,
cupcakes.
Daryl.
Yeah. If you look at the top of that, you'll see their strength of schedule. It's like 200. There's only 300 some teams in basketball. They're in the baseball, and they're in the low 200s. It's like, wow.
Yeah, they're like 202. I believe what it said, 202. I mean, yeah, that's why a lot of people, I think. Well, I remember we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, actually, Daryl, about WKU, and you told me that they loaded up on cupcakes, which hence would make their schedule better. And I do got to say this though, Daryl, before I let you go though, because I do got to ask. You did say Thunder in 4. Are you surprised the T-Wolves got one game?
Yeah, I am surprised they got one game because I thought the Thunder were just significantly better. I mean, I'm happy that instead of a sweep, you got to dress up in your tuxedo because it's going to be a gentleman's sweep.
Gentleman's sweep, yeah. And then, of course, Indiana, which, I mean, if it's Thunder Pacers,
it's going to be Thunder in 4, Austin. It's going to be Thunder in 4. Now, listen.
Is it?
They're the best team. They're the best defensive team in the NBA. They got the best player. They got the best defensive player. They got the best bench. They got the better head coach. It's the Thunder. Like the Thunder this year, even entering the Western Conference Finals, but especially after Game 2, just watching 2 games of Pacers next versus 2 Pacers games of Thunder Wolves, I'm like, oh, the Thunder's just clearly better than everyone else. And it's not even really close.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Daryl, is my Nuggets were the best chance to get rid of them.
Yeah, your Nuggets were, and your Nuggets needed just 1 or 2 bench players, and they probably would have done it. You know, they call it a starting 5, Austin, not a starting 4.
And see, here's the thing, Daryl, not to go down the rabbit hole, but I will say, and I know this is no excuse, but Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, everybody was hurt or sick. I know it's no excuse, but if we were fully healthy, I think we win that series. But I digress. But
honestly, looking back at that could have been a championship series. Like, looking back at it all the way there, knowing that Boston got out, like, that arguably was the championship series, which, man, Austin, you were just 1 game away for probably winning the NBA title, man. That's tough, man. I don't know how you feel about that because Jokic would probably been top 2, top 3 center of all time at that point. Multiple NBA titles, multiple MVPs. Man, now he's just
that's just another heartbreak to add on to it. I know you're not doing it on purpose, but man, what could have been the greatest statistical season in the year, capped off with an NBA championship and get rid of the. I gotta stop before I make myself upset. Jackson, take it away before I make myself upset.
Well, DeVille, what have you got going on this week, good buddy?
Well, you can find me on x.com, and I'll be or Twitter, whatever you want to call it nowadays. I'll be tweeting about college baseball, the NBA playoffs. So that's, I talked about racing this week. Triple Crown of Racing. Went 1 for 3. Was looking really good in the other 2, but Joseph Newgarden decided, you know what? Car's not going to work. It's kind of important in a race to make sure your car works. Would have been nice. And then William Byron got passed with 6 laps to go in the Coca-Cola 600. 500 miles, I would have been 2 for 3. 600 miles, I was 1 for 3. Happens, though. it happens. So I'll be tweeting a lot about college baseball, I feel like, in the NBA playoffs this week.
All righty, man. Well, Darrell, we will be seeing you later, good buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Pleasure talking to you two gentlemen, as usual.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. And we get to the end of the part where we tell everybody where we can find us. Austin, what have you got going on this week, man?
No, Jackson. No. We do not promote me first, good buddy. We don't do that. We have to promote you first, good buddy. I appreciate you wanting to promote me first. But Jackson, you have more important stuff than I do. Because Jackson, you have one of, if not the greatest, Alabama sports YouTube channels going today. You, Johnny, and Jeffrey are rocking and rolling, getting things hip, hop, scotchy, pop, hop, hop. I mean, it's popping over there, Jackson. If people want to pop it in like it's hot, what do you got going on?
Well, we are now 7 subs away from the magic number 2,600 on Alabama with the Voice College Football, and it looks like we could be closing in on Texas territory real soon before the season starts. That would be nice to beat Texas at the Voice College Football subscribers because, I mean, yeah, they made it to the playoffs. They were the last SEC team there, but it's like, this is T-Town. This is Bama Town. We're ahead of you, Texas. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. But, of course, you can check out Crimson Tide Live, including the 39th edition that aired on Sunday instead of Monday because of Memorial Day. And we want to say thank you to those that served our country, to all the veterans that served.
Yes. We thank you. We appreciate you. And you gave us a great freedom to have in this country. And we appreciate you and we love you for it. Because of you all, we're able to do this live stream and plenty more. Go ahead, Jackson.
Agreed. So, yeah, like Coach Birch, Jeffrey, and I went over the 39th edition of Crimson Tide Live, and let's just say there were a lot of fourth wall breaks in that episode, including where we referenced the ads when talking about recruiting. It was so much fun. We're getting ready for episode 40 on the first Monday of June, which that's going to be fun. And then we're going to be getting ready for the 34th call-in show where Jeffrey and I will take your calls Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. But, of course, you can check out what I have got going on my personal channel at Jackson Johnson 979, where I not only collaborate with my good buddy Austin, and my good buddy Will and D, but also I've got my show, The Jacksonian. 28 more episodes till that magic number 100 hits. Who should be my next 28 guests? You decide, all of you. And for more updates on what I've got going on Alabama with the Voice College Football or on the Jacksonian, check me out on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube or on Jackson VOCFB on @/Twitter, on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908, and on Blue Sky at Jackson Johnson 97, where my debate always says where the skies are blue. But I will say, though, you can also check out my once-a-week calls on the Fine Bottom Show, where the weekends are full of surprises. Austin, what have you got going on this week, man?
So this week, nothing much, just doing my thing, doing live streams casually as I go, putting out content. I'll be clipping my segment of Kentucky 8-4 because it's going to be comedy gold if Kentucky goes 4-8, and which will be a very bitter pill for me to swallow, but I will swallow it. But that's what I've got going on. Of course, on my Twitter, talking about all things wrestling, basketball, the NBA playoffs, the College World Series, be watching Louisville, and of course, doing great stuff here with Jackson and other people as well. And for those of you who have requested Jackson and me to do predictions and preseason top 25s, well, I will say this. They are going to happen, but not until after Phil Steele's magazine comes out. Me and Jackson then will give you our full rundown of the offseason. So once Mr. Phil Steele magazine, be on the lookout for me and Jackson to give you our top 25s, our way too early playoff predictions, and so much more. But Jackson, this was fun. Fun, good buddy. I mean, I think we had a blast. I know the audience did, especially B Bean, him as always, but it was a fun show. I had a wonderful time. And with that being said, though, Jackson, we bid everyone adieu and a farewell and a good night, a goodbye, and a bang. And go Cards.
We'll see you soon. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever, and we will see you soon. Good night, everybody.